I was packing my bags to leave my wife when I heard her on the phone in the bathroom. Her voice was low, careful, but our heating vents carry sound like a confessional booth. She said, "Don't panic, Brett. The baby is due in December. We'll be divorced by then. Once it's born after our divorce, Richard can never contest paternity." I stood there in the hallway at 3 a.m, suitcase in my hand, and realized I'd been outmaneuvered by the one person I thought I knew. My name is Richard Caldwell. I'm 56 years old. I've been a family law attorney for 30 years, senior partner at my father's firm, specializing in high net worth divorces. I've seen every trick, every manipulation, every way a spouse can weaponize the legal system for financial gain. I just never thought I'd be the target. It started 6 hours earlier. I couldn't sleep, so I went to my home office to write a letter to my daughter, Addison. She's 19, pre-med at Arizona State, and she deserves to know why her father is leaving, not the sanitized version her mother would tell. The truth. The office was dark except for my desk lamp. Scottsdale at night is quiet. No traffic on our street in Desert Ridge, just the hum of the air conditioning fighting the Arizona heat. I pulled out the file I'd been building for the past 2 weeks. Evidence, documentation, the kind of paper trail that wins cases. On top was our prenuptial agreement. The document was 34 years old, and it showed. The vellum pages had yellowed at the edges, and when I unfolded it, the paper crackled like dried leaves. My father had insisted on this prenup when Diane and I got married in 1991. He was fourth-generation Phoenix money, old school about protecting family assets. I remember thinking it was paranoid. We were in love. We had a daughter on the way. Why would we need a legal shield between us? I found page 14, the infidelity clause. My father's fountain pen signature was still visible, slightly raised where the ink had seeped into the heavy bond paper. The clause was simple. If either spouse commits adultery, the at-fault party forfeits all claims to marital assets beyond what they personally brought into the marriage. Diane had brought nothing. She was 22, fresh out of ASU with a marketing degree and big dreams about being a junior league president someday. She'd achieved that dream, president of the Phoenix Junior League. 85 members who hung on her every word about charity galas and family values. I twisted the ring on my left hand, not my wedding band. I'd stopped wearing that months ago when the weight of the lie became too much. This was my family crest ring. 18-karat gold, oval face, 15 millimeters wide, heavy. The kind of weight you forget is there until you twist it nervously and feel it dig into the skin between your fingers. The motto was engraved in Latin, Veritas Vincit. Truth conquers. My father gave me this ring the day I passed the bar. He slid it across his mahogany desk, and I still remember the sound, gold meeting wood. He said, "Richard, this ring means something. It means we Caldwells choose truth over convenience. Always." I looked at it now under the lamplight. The motto was worn smooth from 30 years of wear, but you could still trace it with your fingertip. I set the prenup down and picked up the other document I'd been avoiding, the ultrasound photo. It was on that cheap thermal paper that curls at the edges. When I picked it up, it had that slick, almost waxy texture. The date stamp said April 3rd, 2025, in that distinctive thermal printing that looks slightly burned into the page. But it was the doctor's handwriting that mattered, blue ballpoint pen, pressed hard enough that I could feel the indentations on the back of the paper. 14 weeks, 3 days. I could smell the faint chemical smell of the thermal printer. That cheap, fragile piece of paper was about to destroy everything. 14 weeks and 3 days before April 3rd. I pulled up my calendar on my phone. The math was simple. Conception, window, January 10th through January 17th. I scrolled back to January. There it was, Chicago, Legal Conference, American Bar Association Family Law Section. I'd given a presentation on January 16th about prenuptial agreements in high net worth divorces. The irony wasn't lost on me. I opened my desk drawer and found the hotel key card, the Hyatt Regency Chicago, room 1834. The plastic was warped. That's what happens when you keep a key card in your wallet in Arizona heat for 4 months. It didn't lay flat anymore. The silver Hyatt logo was slightly scratched, and when I slid it across the desk, it made that clicking, sliding sound that plastic makes on wood. The white paper envelope it came in had a coffee ring stain and some hotel pen marks where I'd written a note to myself. It still smelled faintly like hotel room, that industrial cleaning product smell mixed with recycled air. Checkout date, January 18th, 2025. I wasn't even in Arizona during the conception window. The baby wasn't mine. I sat there for a long time, staring at the evidence spread across my desk. 33 years of marriage, a daughter I adored, a reputation in this community that meant something, and a wife who'd been sleeping with someone else for God knows how long. The professional part of my brain, the lawyer who'd handled hundreds of divorces, kicked into gear. I started making a list, what I'd need for court, timeline, medical records, witnesses. The prenup's infidelity clause would void her claims to the $18 million in Caldwell family assets. But the human part of my brain, the part that still remembered being 24 years old and in love, that part just felt tired. I thought about Diane 2 weeks earlier when she'd told me about the pregnancy. It was a Sunday morning. Addison was back at school after spring break. Diane came into the kitchen where I was reading the paper and set the ultrasound photo on the table in front of me. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. She said, "Richard, I have something to tell you." I looked up from the Phoenix Business Journal. I'd been reading an article about the firm. We just won a major case for a tech CEO going through a divorce. Good publicity. "I'm pregnant," she said. I stared at the ultrasound. The image was blurry, but you could make out the curve of a tiny head, the date stamp, the measurements. My first thought wasn't joy, it was confusion. We were 56 and 53. We hadn't been intimate I couldn't even remember the last time. Months, a year. But I said what I was supposed to say, what a good husband says. "That's wonderful, honey. Are you okay? Have you seen the doctor?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face now. "I know it's a surprise, but Richard, maybe this is what we need. A fresh start, something to bring us back together." I got up and hugged her. I felt her body shake with sobs against my chest. I stroked her hair and made soothing sounds and thought, something is wrong. But I pushed that thought down, way down, because we Caldwells don't make scenes. We don't accuse. We don't create drama. We handle things with discretion. Now, sitting at my desk at 3 a.m, I realized that discretion had been my biggest mistake. I found the prescription bottle in my filing cabinet. I'd taken it from her purse 3 days ago during an argument about something trivial, whether we'd attend the country club's Memorial Day barbecue. She'd left her purse on the kitchen counter. The orange plastic bottle was right on top. CVS Pharmacy. Prenatal vitamins, Diane Caldwell, filled April 15th, 2025. Pills rattled when I shook it, that distinctive sound. The plastic had that pharmacy smell, slightly medicinal. The label paper was slightly glossy. April 15th, 3 weeks before she told me. 3 weeks of taking these vitamins, planning her revelation, perfecting her tearful performance. She knew. She knew before she showed me that ultrasound with her surprised, shocked face. She knew when she cried in my arms and talked about fresh starts. If you've ever felt something was wrong but couldn't prove it, that gut instinct that everyone told you to ignore, you know what I'm talking about. That feeling that makes you seem paranoid, controlling, suspicious, until you find the evidence that proves you weren't crazy after all. I stood up and started packing. 2 suitcases, enough clothes for a week. I'd stay at the firm's executive suite downtown until I figured out what came next. File for divorce, invoke the prenup's infidelity clause, get a DNA test ordered through the court, protect myself legally and financially, and tell Addison the truth. She'd be devastated, but she'd understand. She was studying genetics at ASU. She'd do the math herself once she knew the timeline. She was smart like that, my daughter. I picked up my keys. That's when I heard Diane's voice through the heating vent. Our bedroom is directly above my office. The HVAC system carries sound like you wouldn't believe. I'd learned that years ago when Addison was a teenager, and I'd hear her late-night phone conversations. Diane's bathroom door was closed, but I could hear her clearly. She was on the phone. Her voice had that low, careful quality she used when she didn't want to be overheard. I know, she said, but we stick to the plan, Brett. Brett Thornton, real estate developer, 49 years old, divorced, 2 adult sons, member of Desert Ridge Country Club. I'd played golf with him twice. Nice enough guy. Talked too much about his properties in Tempe and Gilbert. No, he doesn't suspect anything, Diane continued. He's been so wrapped up in that custody case at the firm, he barely notices I exist. I stood there in my office, suitcase in hand, and listened to my wife destroy my world. The baby is due December 22nd, she said. We'll be divorced by then. Richard will want it done quickly and quietly. You know how he is about reputation. Once it's born after our divorce, I put your name on the birth certificate. He'll have no legal standing to contest paternity. Arizona law only presumes the husband is the father if the baby is born during the marriage. Silence. Brett was talking. I couldn't hear his side of the conversation. Then Diane laughed. Actually laughed. His family money becomes my family money through child support, she said. The Caldwell name on that baby's birth certificate would have locked him in for 18 years. But this way is better. You and I get to be together, and Richard pays anyway through the divorce settlement. Brilliant, right? I set the suitcase down slowly, carefully. Like if I made a sound, this conversation would disappear, and I'd never have proof of what I was hearing. Don't panic, Brett, Diane said. Once the baby's born after our divorce, Richard can never contest paternity. I heard water running. She was washing her face, getting ready for bed, planning to come downstairs and kiss me goodnight like she had every night for 33 years. I walked out to my car. The night air was hot. Arizona in late May is brutal, even at 3 a.m. Desert Ridge is one of those master plan communities where every house looks expensive and every yard is professionally landscaped. Our street was silent, security lights, palm trees, Mercedes and BMWs in every driveway, appearances. That's what mattered here. Looking successful, looking happy, looking like you had the perfect marriage. I put my suitcase in the trunk. I was going to leave. Just go. File the papers from the firm's office. Let her come home to an empty house and a note from my attorney. Clean, quiet, no scenes. But I couldn't start the car. Because something Diane said was echoing in my head. Richard will want it done quickly and quietly. You know how he is about reputation. She knew me. She knew exactly how I'd react. She'd been planning this for months, maybe years, and she'd anticipated every move I'd make. My mother had said it to me just last week when I'd finally told her I was thinking about divorce. We'd been sitting in her living room in Paradise Valley. She's 82 now, still sharp as a knife, still obsessed with the Caldwell family reputation. Richard, she'd said, we Caldwells don't make scenes. Whatever Diane has done, you handle it with discretion. Think of Addison. Think of the firm. Think of 30 years of marriage in this community. And I'd almost listened. I'd almost done exactly what Diane predicted I'd do. But here's what my mother and my wife didn't know. I'd spent 30 years helping other people navigate the wreckage of their marriages. I'd seen every manipulation, every lie, every way a spouse could use the legal system as a weapon. And I knew that Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 25-814, presumes that any child born during a marriage is the legal child of the husband. unless that presumption is challenged before the birth through DNA testing or formal legal proceedings. Diane wasn't just betraying me emotionally. She was committing paternity fraud, using my profession, the legal system I devoted my career to, as the instrument of my destruction. I got out of the car and went back inside. Not to confront her, not yet, but because I realized something sitting there in the dark with my engine idling. If I left now, quietly and discreetly like a good Caldwell, I'd be playing right into her trap. The divorce would take months. The baby would be born in December, and unless I could prove paternity before that birth, Arizona law would make me the legal father. Child support, college tuition, 18 years of financial obligation to another man's child. Unless I stayed, unless I documented everything, unless I stopped being the dignified lawyer who handles things quietly and started being the one thing I'd never been in my life, willing to make a scene. I walked back up to my office. The prenup was still spread across my desk. The ultrasound, the hotel keycard, the prescription bottle, evidence. I sat down and opened my laptop, started a new document, began typing every conversation, every timeline inconsistency, every red flag I'd ignored for the past 2 years because I'd been too proud to admit my wife was cheating on me. The baby was due in 7 months. I had 7 months to prove it wasn't mine. 7 months to challenge the paternity presumption. 7 months to stop Diane and Brett from pulling off the most sophisticated legal fraud I'd ever seen. And if that meant destroying 33 years of marriage publicly, if it meant airing our dirty laundry in front of 1,200 country club families and 85 junior league members and 150 attorneys at my firm, then I'd destroy it, because I twisted the ring on my finger and felt the worn motto under my thumb, Veritas vincit, truth conquers, even when the truth means making the kind of scene that would make my father roll over in his grave. Monday morning, I called Kit Morrison. Catherine Morrison has been my law partner for 26 years. We went to Arizona State Law together back in the 90s, dated briefly before we both realized we made better colleagues than lovers. She's 54 now, never married, brilliant at family law, and the only person at the firm I trust completely. Her office is down the hall from mine, glass walls, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Scottsdale. When I walked in at 7 a.m., she was already there with her coffee, reviewing briefs. She took one look at my face and closed her laptop. What happened? I shut the door, set the file folder on her desk, the prenup on top, followed by the ultrasound, the hotel keycard, the prescription bottle, evidence laid out like exhibits at trial. Kit picked up the ultrasound first, studied the date stamp. I watched her do the math in her head. She's that fast. Then she looked at the hotel keycard. You were in Chicago, she said quietly. January 15th through 18th. The ABA conference. I gave a presentation on prenuptial agreements. The irony hung in the air between us. Conception window was January 10th through 17th. Kit set down the ultrasound and reached for the prenuptial agreement. The aged vellum crackled as she turned to page 14. Her finger traced the infidelity clause. This voids her claim to marital assets, she said. If you can prove adultery. I can prove it, I said. I overheard her on the phone with him. Brett Thornton, country club member, real estate developer. Jesus, Richard. It gets worse. I told her about the phone conversation. The plan to wait until after the divorce to put Brett's name on the birth certificate, the Arizona paternity presumption law. Kit's face went pale. She pulled out her laptop and started typing. Arizona revised statutes appeared on the screen. Section 25.8.1, she read aloud. A man is presumed to be the father of a child if he and the mother are married at the time of birth. She looked up at me. Richard, even with proof she cheated, if that baby is born before your divorce is final, you are the legal father. Period. I know. No, I don't think you understand. Kit stood up, started pacing. The only ways to rebut that presumption are genetic testing before birth, which requires amniocentesis and her consent, or a court order challenging paternity before the birth occurs. If that baby is born in December and your divorce isn't finalized, you're stuck. 18 years of child support for another man's kid. I felt the weight of my family ring against my finger, twisted it. She knows, I said. That's why she's planned it this way. She knows I'd want a quiet divorce, quick settlement, avoid the publicity. She's counting on me being too much of a Caldwell to drag this through court in a public paternity battle. Kit pulled open her desk drawer, pulled out a white cardboard box, LabCorp Paternity Determination Test Kit. The box was pristine white, factory sealed, clinical. She set it on the desk between us. It made a hollow sound against the wood. I ordered this last month, she said, when the Henderson case needed DNA verification. It's got 3 sterile swabs, instructions, prepaid FedEx envelope. I picked up the box, turned it over. The cardboard had that new box smell, clean, antiseptic. Amniocentesis can be done at 16 weeks gestation, Kit said, but Richard, she has to consent. It's an invasive procedure. There's a small risk to the fetus, and if she refuses, she'll refuse. Then we go to court, emergency motion to compel genetic testing, but that means filing now. That means making this public. The firm, the country club, junior league, all 1,200 families in Desert Ridge will know Richard Caldwell's wife is pregnant with another man's baby. I looked at the DNA test kit in my hands. Such a small box. Inside was the truth, but getting to it meant invading a fetus's space with a needle. And Diane would never consent. File the motion, I said. Emergency petition to challenge paternity presumption. I want a court date before the end of June. Kit nodded slowly. This is going to get ugly. It already is ugly. I'm just making it visible. She reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. I'm with you, Richard, whatever you need. I left her office and drove to North Scottsdale Medical Plaza. Dr. James Patel has been my physician for 20 years. We met in college, stayed friends after he went into medicine and I went into law. He's 48 now, family practice, the kind of doctor who still makes house calls for longtime patients. His nurse showed me into his private office. James was behind his desk, white coat on, reviewing patient charts. When he saw my face, he stood up. Richard, you okay? I handed him the ultrasound photo. That slick thermal paper, curling edges, the date stamp, April 3rd, 2025. The doctor's blue ballpoint pen notation, 14 weeks, 3 days. James studied it under his desk lamp. I watched him trace the handwriting with his finger. This is from Women's Health Associates, he said. Dr. Martinez's practice. Good doctor. He looked up at me. Diane's pregnant? According to that ultrasound, yes. 14 weeks and 3 days as of April 3rd, which means conception occurred between January 10th and 17th. I pulled out my phone, showed him my calendar, the Chicago hotel confirmation, the flight itinerary, the conference agenda with my presentation time stamped, January 16th, 2 p.m. James set down the ultrasound, leaned back in his chair. You weren't here, he said quietly. I was in Chicago from the 15th through the 18th. Hotel checkout was January 18th. I have the key card if you need it. I don't need it. Medical science is clear. Conception window based on gestational age is accurate within 72 hours. If she was 14 weeks and 3 days on April 3rd, conception occurred between January 11th and January 14th. You were physically unable to be the father. The words hung in the air. Medical certainty, scientific proof. I can testify to that, James continued. Medical impossibility. I can provide expert witness testimony about conception windows, gestational dating accuracy, the science behind ultrasound measurements. He paused. But Richard, testifying won't matter if Diane refuses amniocentesis. And she will refuse. She's trapped you perfectly. I twisted my ring. What are the risks of amniocentesis? At 16 weeks, small. Less than 0.5% chance of miscarriage. We insert a thin needle through the abdomen into the amniotic sac, withdraw a small amount of fluid. The fetal cells in that fluid provide DNA for paternity testing. Results in 7 to 10 days. And if she refuses? You'd need a court order, which means filing motions, public proceedings. The whole thing becomes part of the legal record. That's what Kit said. James came around the desk, put his hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, man. I've known you and Diane for 20 years. I never would have... He trailed off. What do you need from me? An affidavit, medical expert testimony, anything that proves timeline impossibility. You'll have it by end of day. I drove back to the firm, parked in the underground garage, sat there for a long time with the engine off, air conditioning slowly fading, Arizona heat seeping through the windows. My phone rang. Diane. I stared at her name on the screen. 33 years of marriage, a daughter, a house, a life I thought I knew. I answered. Richard, where are you? Her voice was light, cheerful. I made breakfast. Your favorite banana pancakes. Are you coming home? Banana pancakes. She hadn't made those in years. I'm at the office, I said. Big case. Might be here all day. Oh, okay. Well, I have my junior league committee meeting at noon. Should I pick up dinner from that Italian place you like? I closed my eyes. She was so good at this. The performance, the loving wife. Asking about dinner while planning to steal 18 years of my life through legal fraud. That would be nice, I said. Thank you. Richard. A pause. Is everything okay? You sound distant. Just tired, honey. I'll see you tonight. I hung up, sat there gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. That night, I confronted her. Not with yelling, not with drama. Caldwells don't make scenes, after all, but I couldn't keep pretending. Couldn't kiss her goodnight knowing what I knew. She was in the kitchen making dinner. The Italian food sat on the counter in takeout containers. She'd plated it nicely like she always did. Candles on the table. Wine breathing in a decanter. I walked in and set the prescription bottle on the counter. That orange plastic CVS bottle. The pills rattled when it settled. The pharmacy smell hung in the air between us. Diane looked at it, then at me. Something flickered across her face. Fear? Calculation? Before the mask settled back into place. What's this? She asked lightly. Prenatal vitamins filled April 15th, 3 weeks before you told me you were pregnant. I wanted to be sure before getting your hopes up. Diane. My voice was quiet, controlled. I was in Chicago during the conception window. Silence. She set down the spatula very carefully, turned to face me fully. What are you saying? I'm saying the baby isn't mine. I'm saying I know about Brett, and I'm saying I'm filing for divorce. I watched the performance fall away. Her face went cold, hard. A woman I didn't recognize. You want the truth, Richard? She laughed, actually laughed. Fine. I've been sleeping with Brett for 2 years. 2 years. And you know what? You never even noticed. You were too busy at the firm, too wrapped up in your cases, too emotionally unavailable to see what was happening in your own marriage. So this is my fault? Yes. Her voice rose. You abandoned me emotionally decades ago. I've been lonely in this marriage for 20 years, Richard. Brett makes me feel alive. Brett actually sees me. This baby... She touched her stomach. This baby is what I should have had with someone who actually loved me. I felt something inside me crack. I reached up and pulled off my family ring. The gold felt heavy in my palm. I set it on the marble counter between us. The sound of metal meeting stone was loud in the quiet kitchen. I can't wear truth conquers while living a lie, I said. Diane stared at the ring, then at me. "My mother agrees with me," she said quietly. "Victoria knows everything. I told her months ago. She said I should do whatever makes me happy, even if it destroys you." The betrayal cut deeper than the affair. Victoria Ashford, my mother-in-law for 33 years. She'd known. She'd enabled this. "I'm filing for divorce," I said again. "The prenup has an infidelity clause. You'll get $50,000. That's it. The baby isn't mine, and I'll prove it. You can't." She smiled, actually smiled. "Arizona law presumes you're the father if we're married when it's born. And Richard, we both know you'll want this divorce done quietly. Quickly, before anyone finds out. You'll push through a settlement by September, October at the latest, and then in December, when that baby is born, you'll have no legal standing to challenge paternity." She leaned forward. "You've trapped yourself with your own need for discretion." I looked at her, this woman I'd slept beside for 33 years, and realized I'd never actually known her at all. "We'll see," I said. I walked out, drove to the firm's executive suite downtown, stayed there. The next weekend was the Junior League annual gala. Diane had been planning this event for months. 250 guests, Phoenix's elite. Donors who'd given millions to children's charities. The pinnacle of her social calendar. I'd promised to attend. Black tie, show up, smile, play the supportive husband. And now I understood why she'd insisted. The gala was at the Arizona Biltmore, Old Phoenix money, Frank Lloyd Wright architecture. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and women in designer gowns. I stood at the bar in my tuxedo, drinking scotch, watching Diane work the room. She wore emerald green silk. Her hand rested on her belly, just barely showing now at 18 weeks. She laughed with donors, hugged Junior League members, glowed. I'd seen the photo before, the one from last year's gala, framed on my office credenza. 11 by 14 inches, silver ornate frame. Me and Diane in formal wear, forced smiles, October 2024. I'd looked at that photo 1,000 times over the past 8 months. Never really seen it. But tonight, standing here at the bar, I suddenly noticed the background, behind us, slightly out of focus, Brett Thornton, his hand brushing Diane's arm. They'd been having the affair right in front of everyone at last year's gala, 8 months ago, touching in public, and I'd been too blind to see it. "Mr. Caldwell?" I turned. Meredith Simmons stood beside me, 51, Junior League Vice President. I'd known her for years. She and Diane had been on committees together since Addison was in grade school. "Meredith, nice to see you." She glanced around, leaned in close. "Can we talk? Privately?" We stepped out onto the terrace. Warm June night. Desert stars. The sounds of the gala muffled behind glass doors. "I need to tell you something," Meredith said, "and I'm only doing this because you deserve to know." She pulled out her phone, showed me a photo, the same photo from last year's gala, but this one was clearer, higher resolution. Brett and Diane in the background, his hand on her waist, her leaning into him. "We all saw it," Meredith said quietly. "Everyone in the Junior League. We didn't want to believe someone would be that brazen." "How long?" "The affair? I first noticed them together at a country club event 18 months ago, June of last year. The way he looked at her, the way she lit up when he walked in." 18 months, even longer than Diane had admitted. "I have something else," Meredith continued. She pulled a leather-bound book from her purse, burgundy leather, 12 by 18 inches, the country club guest log. "Members have to sign in their guests," she explained. "I'm on the hospitality committee. I have access to the records." She opened the book. The leather creaked. The pages whispered. Brett Thornton, guest of Diane Caldwell. She flipped through pages, entry after entry. The fountain pen signatures in blue and black ink. 37 times, Meredith said. 37 times in 18 months. Tennis lessons, lunch, committee meetings. He escalated from monthly to weekly by this past spring. I took the book. The leather smelled rich and old, furniture polish, history, each signature a small betrayal documented in permanent ink. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I have a daughter," Meredith said. "She's 16, and if her father ever did this to me, I'd want someone to tell me the truth, even if it hurt." She paused. "I'm testifying for you, Richard. Whatever you need, you deserve the truth." The glass doors opened, music spilled out. Diane appeared on the terrace, backlit by chandeliers. She saw me with Meredith, saw the guest log in my hands. For a moment, her mask slipped, fear, anger, calculation. Then she smiled, walked toward us, hand on her belly. "There you are, darling. Come inside. I'm about to give my speech." She took my arm, guided me back into the ballroom. Meredith followed at a distance. 250 people in evening wear, donors, society reporters, the cream of Phoenix high society. Diane stepped up to the podium. The room quieted. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began. "Your generosity supports programs that help thousands of Phoenix children every year. And speaking of children," she paused, touched her belly. "I'm thrilled to announce that Richard and I are expecting a baby this December." The room erupted in applause. Congratulations, smiles, women rushing forward to hug her. I stood there in my tuxedo, drink in hand, and watched my wife lie to 250 people. She caught my eye across the room, smiled, that knowing, triumphant smile. If you were in my position, what would you do? Expose her right there at the gala in front of everyone, or gather evidence first and let the legal system work? I chose evidence, because I'd learned something in 30 years of family law. Rage feels good, but documentation wins in court. I smiled back, raised my glass in a mock toast, and thought, "You brilliant, evil woman, but I'm a better lawyer than you expected." 2 days later, I got the call I'd been dreading. Addison, my daughter, 19 years old, pre-med at ASU, the best thing Diane and I ever created together. "Dad, can you meet me at your office? I need to talk to you." I knew this moment would come. Diane had probably gotten to her first, spun some version where I was the villain, the husband who couldn't give her emotional support, the father abandoning his pregnant wife. Addison arrived at 6 p.m., campus casual, ASU Sun Devils t-shirt shorts, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She still had that volleyball player build, lean and strong, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She sat across from my desk, the same desk where I'd laid out all the evidence weeks ago. "Mom called me," she said. "She told me you're getting divorced, that you're demanding a paternity test for the baby." "What else did she tell you?" "That you've been distant for years, that you've made her feel invisible, that she's been lonely and..." Addison's voice cracked. "Dad, is it true? Are you really making her do a DNA test because you don't believe the baby is yours?" I pulled out the file. Everything laid out like trial exhibits. The ultrasound, the hotel key card, the prescription bottle, the country club guest log, the pre-nuptial agreement. "Look at these," I said. "Really look at them. You're taking genetics this semester. You understand conception windows." Addison picked up the ultrasound. Her hands were shaking slightly. "April 3rd, she read. 14 weeks, 3 days. I watched her do the calculation in her head. Watched understanding dawn. She picked up the hotel key card. "Chicago, checkout, January 18th. She looked up at me. The conception window was mid-January. January 10th through 17th, I was at a conference. I wasn't even in Arizona. Addison set down the ultrasound, picked up the prescription bottle. Filled April 15th, 3 weeks before Mom told you she was pregnant. Her voice was barely a whisper now. She knew. Before she showed you the ultrasound with that surprised face, she already knew. Yes. My daughter looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Dad, I know about conception windows. You were in Chicago. Mom complained about you missing her birthday dinner that week. I remember because I called to wish her happy birthday and she said you were traveling. The tears fell faster now. She knew you couldn't be the father when she showed you that ultrasound. She was going to let us, believe you were having a Caldwell baby when she couldn't finish. Put her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. I came around the desk, knelt beside her chair, held her hand. Addison, did she ever love us? The words came out broken, raw. Or were we always just props for her junior league bio, the perfect family, the successful husband, the daughter at ASU? Was any of it real? I didn't have an answer that would make this better. My family ring sat on the desk between us. I'd left it there since the night I confronted Diane, that heavy gold band with its worn motto. Addison picked it up, traced the Latin words with her finger the way I'd done 1,000 times. Veritas vincit, she read. Truth conquers. She looked at me. Is that why you took it off? I couldn't wear it while living a lie. But you're wearing it again now, choosing truth. I pulled my daughter into a hug, felt her cry against my shoulder the way she hadn't since she was a little girl, and I thought, this is the cost. This moment right here, watching my daughter's innocence shatter. But I also thought, better now than letting her live in a lie. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. Don't apologize for telling me the truth, Addison said. Apologize for not telling me sooner. Kit filed the emergency motion on Monday morning. Emergency petition to exclude paternity presumption. Motion to compel genetic testing. Request for expedited hearing. 47 pages of legal argument. Medical expert affidavits from Dr. Patel. Timeline documentation. Hotel records. The country club guest log. Meredith Simmons' witness statement. Every piece of evidence we'd gathered, formatted according to Arizona Rules of Family Law Procedure, filed with the Maricopa County Superior Court. Diane would be served by noon. The whole thing would become part of the public record, searchable, accessible to anyone who wanted to look up Caldwell vs. Caldwell. No more discretion, no more quiet handling. I sat in Kit's office while she uploaded the final documents to the court's electronic filing system. Last chance to back out, she said quietly. Once I hit submit, this is public. The firm will know. The country club. Every client we've ever represented. The Phoenix Business Journal will probably run a story. I looked at my hand. The family ring was back on my finger. I'd put it on that morning after Addison left my office. After she'd traced the motto and said, "You're wearing it again. Choosing truth." Submit it, I said. Kit clicked the button. The screen flashed. Filing accepted. Court date is set for June 15th, she said. Judge Sandra Chen. She's good, fair, won't put up with games from either side. What about the amniocentesis? Motion requests court-ordered procedure within 7 days of hearing. At 18 weeks gestation, it's medically safe. If the judge grants the motion, Diane won't have a choice. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane's attorney, Marcus Webb. Richard, what the hell are you doing? Call me immediately. I showed it to Kit. She smiled grimly. They're panicking. Good. The hearing was 8 days away. 8 days of waiting while my entire life became public record. On day 3, my mother called. Richard Thomas Caldwell. Her voice was ice. I just had lunch with Victoria Ashford. She told me about the court filing, a paternity challenge, public proceedings. Have you lost your mind? I was in my office, looking out at Scottsdale, the city spread out below like a circuit board of wealth and appearances. Mother, I told you I was filing for divorce. I told you to handle it with discretion. Instead, you've made the Caldwell name a scandal. The country club is talking about nothing else. Do you understand what you've done to our family's reputation? Diane is pregnant with another man's child. She was planning to commit paternity fraud. The Caldwell name was already a scandal. I'm just making it visible. That is not how we do things, Peggy said. We Caldwells don't make scenes. We protect the family reputation. I know, Mother. You've said that my entire life. I twisted the ring on my finger. But here's what I've learned. Protecting reputation while tolerating lies doesn't make us dignified. It makes us complicit. Silence on the other end of the line. Your father would be ashamed, she said finally. My father gave me this ring and told me truth matters more than convenience. I'm finally living up to that. She hung up. I sat there for a long time, looking at the ring, wondering if I'd just destroyed my relationship with my mother along with my marriage. On day 5, something unexpected happened. I was at the firm late reviewing case files when the receptionist buzzed. Mr. Caldwell, there's a woman here to see you. Victoria Ashford. She says it's urgent. My mother-in-law, the woman who'd known about the affair for months, who'd told Diane to do whatever made her happy, even if it destroyed me. Send her up. Victoria walked into my office looking like she'd aged a decade since I'd last seen her. 76 years old, usually impeccable, hair done, expensive clothes, the kind of old Phoenix money that never shows a crack. But tonight her makeup was smudged. Her hands shook. She sat down across from my desk without being invited. I need to talk to you, she said, and I need you to listen, really listen. I'm listening. She pulled out the Junior League directory, that spiral-bound booklet with Diane's presidential portrait on page 3. She clutched it like a life raft. I built the same lie for 54 years, Victoria said quietly. The same perfect family image, the same Junior League presidency, the same everything. I didn't understand. What are you talking about? Charles Ashford isn't Diane's biological father. The room went silent. Even the air conditioning seemed to stop. Victoria's hands twisted the directory. 1971. I was 22, newly married to Charles. He worked 80 hours a week at his investment firm. I was lonely. There was a tennis instructor at the club. Antonio. He made me feel alive. Her voice cracked. I got pregnant. I told Charles it was his. He never questioned it. Why would he? We were married, respectable. Ashfords don't have affairs. I stared at her. Diane knows. I told her when she turned 30. I thought... Victoria's tears fell freely now. I thought I was freeing her, showing her that women don't have to stay trapped in loveless marriages, that we can find happiness even if it means bending the rules. She looked up at me. Instead, I gave her permission. I taught her that lying is acceptable if it protects your image, that men are just resources to be managed. Jesus Christ. She did this because I taught her to, Victoria sobbed. In 1971, I committed paternity fraud. Charles died 5 years ago, never knowing Diane wasn't his. And when Diane met Brett, when she got pregnant, she didn't see anything wrong with doing the exact same thing to you, because her mother had shown her it was possible. She set the directory on my desk, pushed it toward me. I'm testifying for you, Richard, against my own daughter, because if I don't stop this pattern now, what happens in another 30 years? What does Addison learn from watching her mother get away with this? I looked at this woman who'd been part of my family for 33 years, who'd sat at our Thanksgiving table, who'd held Addison as a baby, who'd enabled the destruction of my marriage because she was protecting her own lies. Why now? I asked. Why tell me this now? Because I saw Addison yesterday. She came to my house, asked me if I knew about the affair, and I lied to her face, Richard. I looked at my granddaughter and lied, and after she left, I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'm still doing it, still protecting the lie, still enabling Diane. Victoria pulled a tissue from her purse, wiped her eyes. I'm 76 years old. Charles is dead. Diane is going to lose this court case regardless of what I do. The only question is whether I finally tell the truth or spend my last years protecting a lie that's destroyed 2 generations of my family. You'll lose Diane, I said. I lost her a long time ago, when I taught her that image matters more than integrity. She stood up. Your attorney can call me. I'll testify. I'll provide documentation, Antonio's name, the timeline, everything, pattern of behavior, mother enabling daughter, generational fraud. She walked to the door, paused. At least you have real values, she said. The Ashfords only have money. After she left, I sat there holding the Junior League directory, Diane's smiling face on page 3. President, Phoenix Junior League, devoted wife to Richard Caldwell, proud mother to Addison. A fiction built on top of another fiction, built on top of 50 years of lies. June 15th arrived, Maricopa County Courthouse, Family Court Division, Judge Sandra Chen presiding. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, Arizona state seal, fluorescent lights that made everything feel clinical and cold. Kit sat beside me at the plaintiff's table. Diane sat across the aisle with Marcus Webb, her attorney. She wore a navy maternity dress, conservative, sympathetic. Her hand rested protectively on her belly, 20 weeks now, visibly pregnant. I didn't look at her. Judge Chen reviewed our motion, medical affidavits, timeline documentation, expert testimony. The country club guest log entered as Exhibit B. Marcus Webb stood. Your Honor, this is an invasive procedure with risk to the fetus. My client objects to amniocentesis on medical grounds. Mr. Caldwell's suspicions, while unfortunate, don't justify... Mr. Webb, Judge Chen interrupted, your client's husband was in Chicago during the conception window. Medical experts have testified to timeline impossibility. This isn't about suspicions. This is about mathematical certainty. She looked at Diane. Mrs. Caldwell, if you're certain your husband is the father, you have nothing to fear from this test. Diane's lawyer whispered to her urgently. She shook her head, whispered back. Marcus stood again. Your Honor, my client maintains that... Motion granted, Judge Chen said. Amniocentesis will be performed on June 18th at Women's Health Associates under medical supervision. Results to be filed with the court within 10 business days. DNA comparison will include the presumed father, Richard Caldwell, and the alleged biological father. She looked at Kit. Ms. Morrison, I assume you've subpoenaed Mr. Thornton's DNA? Yes, Your Honor. He's been served. Then we'll reconvene when results are available. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Diane stood abruptly, walked out without looking at me. Marcus Webb gathered his files, gave me a cold stare, followed her. Kit squeezed my hand. We won. We proved I deserve the truth. That's not the same as winning. 3 days later, the amniocentesis was performed. I wasn't there. Diane wouldn't allow it. But Dr. Martinez's office confirmed the procedure was completed successfully. Samples sent to LabCorp for genetic analysis. Results in 7 to 10 days. I went to the office, tried to work, failed, stared at the DNA test kit box Kit had given me weeks ago, still sitting on my desk, empty now. The prepaid FedEx envelope had carried its samples to the lab. Inside that envelope was the truth. 10 days felt like forever. On day 8, a FedEx truck pulled up to the firm. I was in my office when the receptionist called. Mr. Caldwell, you have a delivery. Signature required. The envelope was heavy. Medical-grade paper. LabCorp logo. Official lab stamp. The kind of envelope that changes lives. Kit came to my office. Stood beside me as I tore it open. The pages rustled. Clinical language, genetic markers, probability statistics, and at the bottom, alleged father, Brett William Thornton, 99.9% probability of paternity. Combined paternity index greater than 1,000,000 to 1. Conclusion, Brett William Thornton is the biological father of the tested fetus to a degree of medical certainty. I should have felt victorious, vindicated, proven right. Instead, I just felt tired. "There's going to be a baby," I said quietly. "A Thornton, not a Caldwell, and its father is a coward who's already abandoned it." Kit pulled out her phone. "Actually, about that, I got a call this morning from Brett's attorney. He's denying paternity, says the test must be wrong, refuses to acknowledge the child." I looked at the DNA results, 99.9% medical certainty. "Then Diana's alone," I said. "No husband, no Brett, just her and a baby nobody wants." "And the prenup?" Kit asked. "Filed a motion. Infidelity clause is triggered. She gets $50,000. That's it." Kit started to leave, then paused. "Richard, for what it's worth, you did the right thing." Doing the right thing doesn't always feel right. That afternoon, my office phone rang. "Mr. Caldwell, there are 2 young men here to see you, Tyler and Connor Thornton. They say they're Brett's sons." I hadn't expected this. Tyler and Connor Thornton, 22 and 20, respectively. I'd met them once or twice at country club events. Polite kids, both in college. Their mother, Brett's ex-wife, had done well raising them despite the divorce. They walked into my office looking nervous. Tyler, the older one, carried a folder. Connor kept his hands in his pockets. "Mr. Caldwell," Tyler said, "we need to apologize for what our dad did." "You don't need to apologize for—" "Yes, we do." Connor cut me off. "We found out about the affair 2 days ago. Our mom told us. She'd heard rumors, did some digging, and—" He trailed off. "We're ashamed of our dad, of what he did to you and your family." Tyler set the folder on my desk. Inside were text messages, printed out. Brett to Tyler. "It's not my kid. The test is wrong. I'm not getting trapped into this." "Our dad is being a coward," Tyler said, "denying paternity even with DNA proof. He's scared of responsibility, of his reputation, of actually having to step up." "We talked to him last night," Connor continued. "Told him he's taking the test again if necessary, that he's going to be there for this baby, that we're making sure of it." I stared at these 2 young men, Brett's sons, barely adults themselves, trying to fix their father's mistakes. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you do that?" Tyler looked at the framed photo on my desk. The law firm Christmas card from 2024, me and Addison together at the office. "You seem like the kind of dad who shows up," he said quietly. "Our dad isn't, never has been. He walked out on us when I was 12 and Connor was 10. Our mom raised us, and now he's doing the same thing to this baby, running away because it's hard." Connor pulled out his phone, showed me a text from his mother, Brett's ex-wife, Linda. "If he won't step up, I will. That baby deserves family." "Our mom is a good woman," Connor said. "She's already talking about helping, being involved, making sure this kid has what we didn't, a father who actually shows up, even if we have to drag our dad there ourselves." Tyler met my eyes. "Mr. Caldwell, we wanted you to know that baby is going to be okay. We're making it okay. You can let go now." Something in my chest loosened. I hadn't realized how much guilt I'd been carrying about the baby's future, a child born into this mess, unwanted by its mother, denied by its father. But these 2 young men, this next generation, were breaking the cycle. "Thank you," I said, my voice cracked slightly. "You're better men than your father. Tell your mother, tell her I'm grateful." After they left, I sat there for a long time, and for the first time in 7 months, I felt like I could breathe. Richard and Addison redefined what family means. Not bloodlines or social standing, but truth and showing up. If you've built your own family around integrity instead of obligation, tell me about it in the comments. And if this story moved you, subscribe. I tell stories about people who choose truth when it costs them everything. I'll see you in the next one. The divorce was finalized in September. 3 months of legal proceedings, depositions, asset division, the prenup held. Diane received $50,000. I kept the house, the firm, the Caldwell assets. The baby was born December 20th, 2 days early. A girl, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Brett's name is on the birth certificate. He showed up at the hospital. Tyler and Connor made sure of it. Linda, his ex-wife, was there too, and the brothers. A whole family ready to support a baby girl who'd been unwanted by her mother. Diane moved to Flagstaff, away from Phoenix, away from the junior league, the country club, the social circles that had defined her. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she took a marketing job at a small firm. Started over. I hope she found whatever she was looking for. Addison came home for winter break. She'd finished her fall semester with a 4.0. Still pre-med, still brilliant, still my daughter. We were in my office on a Tuesday afternoon, late December. The Phoenix winter sun streaming through the windows, warm, golden, the kind of light that makes everything feel possible. Addison sat across from my desk, the same desk where months ago I'd laid out all the evidence, where she'd learned the truth about her mother, where she'd picked up my family ring and traced its motto. That ring sat on the desk between us now. I picked it up. The gold was warm from sitting in the sunlight, heavy, substantial, the way truth should feel. Your grandfather gave me this when I passed the bar, I said. He slid it across this desk. I still remember the sound. Gold meeting wood. He told me, Richard, this ring means something. Veritas vincit. Truth conquers. I looked at the worn motto, traced it with my thumb. I spent 30 years thinking that meant winning legal arguments, outmaneuvering opposing counsel, being the best lawyer in the room. I looked up at my daughter. But, Addison, it means something harder. Something your grandfather probably understood, but I was too proud to see. What? Her voice was quiet. It means having the courage to face ugly truths and choose them anyway, even when it costs you everything, even when it destroys your marriage, alienates your mother, makes you the scandal of the country club, even when telling the truth shatters your daughter's illusions about her family. I slid the ring across the mahogany desk. The sound of gold meeting wood filled the quiet office. You're pre-med, I said. You'll take an oath someday about truth, about patient welfare, about putting integrity above convenience. This family's real legacy isn't money or social standing or what people think of the Caldwell name. It's choosing truth even when everyone tells you to be quiet, even when being quiet would be easier. Addison picked up the ring, turned it over in her hands, read the motto aloud. Veritas vincit. Truth conquers. You've earned this more than I ever did, I said, because you chose truth even when it hurt, even when it meant seeing your mother clearly, even when it would have been easier to stay in denial and hate me for the divorce. Addison looked at me with tears in her eyes, but they weren't sad tears. Not anymore. Dad, she said quietly, when you first told me about Mom and Brett, I thought losing Mom meant losing my family. But we didn't lose our family. She closed her hand around the ring. We finally became one. I came around the desk, pulled my daughter into a hug. Through the window, I could see Scottsdale spread out below. The city where I'd built a reputation, where the Caldwells had been fixtures for 4 generations, where people still talked about the scandal, where my mother still wouldn't speak to me, but I'd traded reputation for truth. And looking at my daughter, holding that ring, understanding what it really meant, I knew I'd made the right choice. We're designing next year's Christmas card, I said, for the firm, just you and me, from the Caldwells. No mention of your mother, no pretense, just the truth. Good, Addison said. She slipped the ring onto her finger. It was too big. She'd need to have it resized, but she wore it anyway. Because I'm tired of Christmas cards that lie. I laughed, actually laughed. The first real laugh in months. We stood there together at the window, father and daughter, the real Caldwell family. My mother had been wrong. We Caldwells don't make scenes. We make the truth so clear that scenes aren't necessary. And sometimes truth doesn't just conquer, it heals.